I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting of council for Monday, April 23rd. As a reminder, I'd like to remind everyone to silence all mobile devices, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. As we start every meeting with a safety share, I'll pass it on to Councillor Michael Stone for the safety share, please.
Thanks. So tonight's safety share goes over a wide range of topics. Buckle up your seatbelt before you start driving and keep buckled at all times. Ladders can lead to significant injuries, so be safe on them. Wear proper footwear to prevent slipping and tripping and falling. Keep your space clean and tidy. Avoid using cruise control in poor weather conditions. Stay alert and watch out for moose on the province highways, roadways. Enjoy your social events, but don't drink and drive. Make time for healthy food choices. When cleaning up, be sure to read the product labels carefully. Watch for students in the school zones. Drive safely in challenging conditions like rain or fog. When walking in the evening, be seen. Wear reflective clothing. When you are near a school, beware of increased pedestrian traffic. Keep kids safe. Use appropriate child car seats in your vehicle.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none. Any disclosures of interest? Minutes of the regular council meeting held Monday, April 9th, and closed meeting of council held on Monday, April 9th will be presented. Okay. The council have a motion that council hereby accepts the agenda for Monday, April 23rd, regular meeting of council as circulated and amended. Mover, Councillor Lake. Seconder, Councillor Gingras. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The council hereby adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Monday, March 26, 2018, and closed meeting of council held on Monday, March 26, 2018, as circulated and amended. Moved again by Councillor Lake, seconded by Councillor Fox.
Your Worship, that's incorrect.
It should be
April the 9th, 2018.
Okay. I will make the adjustment.
And April the 9th closed as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will change it on here. Okay, I need to get another mover or remove. Thank you, Councillor Lake. Thank you, Councillor Fox. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. Delegations, there are none. Councillors' reports. I have one in the student councillor. I have a report from the, sorry, I have to get my reference here. As your member on the library board, the March meeting, or the March break programming at the library was quite a success, and we are looking forward to next March break partnering with the town of Marathon to provide programming in conjunction with services, so that we either do not overlap services or we can combine services with the library board. This year's One Book, One Community, the book is Seven Fallen Feathers by Tanya Talaga. We have copies available at the library for $20, and you can order them at the library. And we're welcoming all the communities along the North Shore to participate in the One Book, One Community reading. Hopefully we will have some input from the author and or people who were present at the inquest in the drowning deaths in Thunder Bay of the First Nations people. Another information I'd like to pass on is that Fitbits and tablets are available for people who want to know how they work. They are on a loaner basis, so you can get some information on how they operate before you decide to purchase, and they are available through the library. And again, the library board would like to invite all councillors to come visit the redesigned library. And that is it for the library. Councillor note. Yes.
So I thought it was great. I know we ended up going to the library to get stickers for the support of Humboldt. There's thought that was a really cool use of the makerspace. I was wondering, is that an ongoing program, or is that something that's done now?
If I can respond, yeah, we have a silhouette, I got the name right, silhouette maker at the library board, and one of our young persons, Mitchell, designed the our Humboldt Strong stickers. They were quite a success. I don't believe he's doing another run, but they may be available. If you have any information, call the library. We may do a second run, but it's just an example of what the facilities are there that they were able to do a fundraising for. If you don't mind, we had raised some money, or the library board had raised some money for through the sale of or the distribution of the Humboldt Strong stickers, and one of the things that came out of the library board was we were going to donate it to the library in Humboldt, the proceeds. So as opposed to doing the GoFundMe portion. So I believe that's where we were going to, I'm looking at my support here. I believe that's where we were going to send the proceeds for that program. Student council report? Councilor Stone? Oh, sorry, Terry.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that I had a brief report on the Thunder Bay Health Unit. One concern that is going around right now, no, it's on. There is, how do I put it, an increase this year in tuberculosis cases. Usually it's maybe 1 to possibly 6 cases that come up throughout a year, and right now we've got 9. It's all seems to be, I believe it's shelter house, but it's that type of facility that it's in. There's 200 other people that the health unit want to contact right at the present time. They have a list of names, and they are proceeding on helping or doing that. I didn't know anything about tuberculosis, but it's a very difficult situation, and it can take 6 weeks to 6 months for it ever to come up. So this is going to be a long, drawn-out affair. Even if they believe that they've got it somewhat controlled right now, but there's a lot of time and effort, dollars going into this. They've brought additional people in, nurses and so on and so forth. So I'll keep you abreast on that. The other thing is, I think, something that I've been fighting with them for 4 years now, of surpluses, and the communities finance those surpluses. This past year it was $98,000, and those monies get transferred into a capital fund, which is necessary if they have to replace the other. But there are years that I don't consider are necessary, as in last year I think it was $28,000. That's perfectly acceptable. The year before that was $460,000, which I went off on a tangent about. I don't think there's any need for that kind of surplus going in, but the policy is that it goes into the capital fund. I have asked and put a resolution on the table, and it was accepted, that we get at the budget time of the year the full amount of salaries and wages that fall under the government 75% and the municipal 25%. They're going to provide that now. I've been asking for it for 4 years. That's how they get away with these surpluses. They don't fill a position. It's authorized. The budget is formed that they're going to fill the position, and they don't. And that's how it's created. Our 25% goes in right up front, and then we don't get it back. So we'll now know that if it is generated from unfilled positions down the road. And that's about my report, the end of it.
Just a question on that there. If the 75%, is that being, the government portion, is that being surplused also?
Nope.
Okay.
It goes back to the government.
Okay. If that's it for council reports, we have student council reports. Michael Stone.
So On Wednesday, the April 25th, at Marathon High School, they're having a drug awareness session. It will start at 6 p.m. Our school held the second annual Wake-a-thon last weekend to raise money for the sports teams and travel fees. They raised over it was over $1,200. So yeah.
Good.
Thank you. CAA reports, report on council recreation discounts, copied to all members.
Thank you. At the April 9th, 2018 regular meeting of council, administration was directed to research and review any history and details regarding council members receiving recreation membership discounts. Currently, permanent, regular, and seasonal municipal employees and their immediate dependents, those living in-home, receive a 50% discount off of town recreation charges for all town-owned facilities. Eligible examples would include golf and pool memberships. Ineligible examples would include ice or pool rentals. After researching this item, there is no current policy that governs this item for council. Employee discounts are dealt with through employment contracts or collective agreements. Should council wish to adopt this benefit, a new council-approved policy would need to be developed and approved. If council chose to implement a 50% discount off of town recreation charges for council members and their immediate dependents using family rate discounts, it could have an upset budget cost of $4,900. No options at this time, and your administration presents this report for council's information tonight.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
No.
Councillor Falk or Councillor Lake?
Sure. So I certainly love the idea of councillors being in recreation facilities. I think that's an important part of it. I also think it's, you know, the more you use it, the more you value it, or at least see its value up close. The one thing I would say is it's always hard, it's like voting yourself a pay raise. It's always difficult to make a vote when it benefits yourself. So I would argue that if we are thinking of doing it, I'd tie it to the new term of council. It's also might be something that if entices people to run, because it's a benefit that might seem useful to people. So I think the more people that run for council, the better. That's kind of the way democracy ought to work. So I mean, I'm certainly happy to support that, but not now. I would tie it to the new term of council and sort of have that as one of the things we sell to anybody who's thinking of running. I would also argue that it would be nice to extend that not to families but to student councillors, a discount as well as a reward for some of the serving they do.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Do we just forward this back to administration for you to come up with this criteria then?
So if I'm hearing correctly, council is interested in seeing a policy. So that is the proper discourse, is that we bring a policy back for council approval.
Okay. I think one of the things that I had mentioned, we bring this up, is obviously because of the potential for the new candidates coming in on the new election. I don't know if we should tie it to the new council or wait for council or for administration to come back with their recommendations. It's our last year of this council. I think it would be somewhat prudent if we put it in place so the other council didn't have to do it themselves. Yeah, okay. So if you can provide that, and also provide information for these student councillors, even though they're on for a one-year term.
And just one other note for council, this is an unbudgeted item within the budget, so it would also be a small add to the 2018 budget.
Or we can move it out of the councillors' fund, which we do have.
So if with council's permission, I'll bring that back as part of the policy report as well.
Okay.
A recommendation on that item.
So any other discussion?
If we moved it to the new term of council, it'd be half a year's budget, right? So it'd be
Yeah, well, even less.
December, and wouldn't start until October.
I'll let the administration answer.
No, our fiscal is a calendar year, so the new council will be sworn in a special meeting in December. So they will be the ones voting on the 2019 budget. So it would be included in that fiscal budget.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So we'll leave it up to administration to come back with a report. Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Foss?
Just a statement. Any thought about retirees? No. Thanks.
Okay. Administration reports on the renewal of dispatch and 911 services through Northern Communication Services Incorporated, DBA Northern 911. Mr. Kerster?
Evening, Your Worship. At the April 9th, 2018 regular meeting of Council, administration was directed to review and investigate the most recent quote from Northern Communications doing business as Northern 911 in order to achieve clarity and, where possible, better pricing. Negotiations conducted have resulted in further reduction in the monthly rate while retaining the same level of service. Clarified contract rates for a 1-year and a 3-year term were also received, which are attached to this document. Cursory searches of the internet did not readily identify another full-service paging and dispatch service similar to Northern 911. For the financial implications, for the 2018 budget, the new rate for a 1-year contract is $9,927.22. This represents a $1,047 over budget for the budgeted amount for 2018. In addition, a new contract would have to be negotiated in subsequent years thereafter. The new rate for the first year of a 3-year contract would cost $9,059, which is a $179.88 over budget run. The establishment of forecasted rates for the years of the subsequent years of 2019 and 2020 are available would be available then for budgeting purposes. Attached is a letter of explanation from Northern 911 further detailing these new negotiated rates. Options are A, agree to extend the current agreement with Northern Communications for further 3-year term at the contract prices listed. B, direct administration to negotiate our emergency service initial paging contract and 911 services through a formal RFP process. A recommendation, your administration recommends option A be selected and that the current agreement with Northern Communications for fire paging and initial 911 dispatch services and 911 services for the community be further extended for a 3-year term. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Mr. Kerster. I have a motion that Council hereby accept the attached report and recommendation on the renewal of dispatch and 911 services, Northern Communication Services Incorporated, DBA Northern 911, and further that the appropriate bylaw be adopted entering into agreement with Northern Communication Services Incorporated regarding the operation of a telephone answering and emergency dispatch services for the Emergency Services Department. Moved by Councillor Lake, second by Councillor Gingras. Any discussion? Councillor Fox?
Is this a government-funded agency or is it a for-profit agency?
It's a for-profit agency, Your Worship.
Do we know how they survived the last 2 or 3 years when they've what was the increase? I forget now, but
I believe my original document, Your Worship, stated that they have over 200 institutions in the province that they deal with, including some larger police forces that choose not to have their own dispatch services, plus the 911 services in the greater Sudbury area, as well as around the Marathon area as well too. So they're a rather large, extensive business base that makes the corporation. Plus, there's fleet dispatching that they do. This is not their sole industry. It's a division of Northern Communications. So
okay.
Northern 911 is just a slice of the pie of the services that they offer.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor.
So thank you for going back to them. It looks like it's an $800 savings in that first year, and that's what we got by going back to them. In your opinion, is that the best deal we can get?
At this point in time, I do believe so, Your Worship. It's we've been back and forth quite a bit, and they've extended a number of discounts to us, and also included left a lot of the services we had, and discounting or eliminating the rates for that service that they had initially quoted.
Thanks. I appreciate you going back and forth with them.
Just one comment there. I see you're recommending the 3-year contract, and I do believe that that's probably the best way to go, given the discounts that will be provided. And I also see that there is some indication that they've accounted for inflation in it, so we're not going to get surprised after on the fourth year having a huge increase, as opposed to, you know, I'll say cost of living increases per year. And I appreciate that issue, so that by the end of, I'll say, the 2020, that it'll be more reflective and in line, so it's not as big a jump.
I would imagine that we're not the only community, Your Worship, that's had some pushback on these rate increases, and I think they've probably learned their lesson as much as they'd like to be the nice guy in the business world and hold these rates back and the increases. But I think the pushback they're getting from a lot of the communities have probably taught them a lesson that they need to start looking at incrementally increasing it through cost of living or cost of increases for reasonable cost of business.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried? Thank you, Mr. Kirsten. Next up, a report on Hemlo Drive resurfacing contract award, copy to all members. Mr. Hishka.
Good evening, Your Worship. I'm presenting the Hemlo Drive 2018 Resurfacing Contract Award. The background for this report: in accordance with 2016 to 2018 Corporate Strategic Plan, Municipal Infrastructure and Environment, Hemlo Drive, the area identified below, has been identified as due for rehabilitation. Based on Council's top priorities and preliminary financial implications for 2018, True Grit Engineering was instructed to proceed with a detailed design for the project. The construction limits and highlights are as followed: Hemlo Drive at number 35, or the intersection with Steedman Drive, to Hemlo Drive number 55, plus the intersections in between, that's 235 meters long. And then Hemlo Drive at number 69 to Hemlo Drive at number 85, which is another 535 meters plus intersections, and 845 meters of 50 millimeter thick HL4 asphalt. Install 11 new floating maintenance holes access lids, elevation and drainage correction at residential driveway aprons complete with asphalt, ditching restored to original design depths, and erosion control where necessary. Financial implications: the tender process closed on April 13, 2018 with the following results: Taranis Contracting Group, $566,000, J. Provo Contracting, $572,000, Pioneer Construction, $668,000, Villeneuve Construction, $767,000, and Bruno's Contracting, $792,000. The town's consulting engineers, True Grit, reviewed the tenders and noted no irregularities. True Grit recommend that the contract be awarded to Taranis Contracting Group with an expected completion date of July 13th. The 2018 budget for Hemlo Drive resurfacing is $670,000 for road and drainage rehabilitation. Surplus funds will be designated for drainage and pavement issues elsewhere in the municipality. For instance, Penlick Road at Peninsula, drainage; Nicolette, drainage and patching; Yawkey, patching; and Hemlo at Mishano, patching are candidates for small specific repairs. The construction will cost $446,000 with a contingency of $55,000. The engineering, testing, tendering, and supervision is $42,000, and the net HST is $9,500 for a total of $552,698. Your options are to proceed with Hemlo Drive resurfacing project as presented and enter into a contract with Taranis Contracting Group, or B, do not proceed at this time. Your administration recommends option A be selected and that True Grit Consulting be instructed to proceed with contract documents.
Thank you for that. I have a motion that the council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation on Hemlo Drive 2018 resurfacing contract, and further that the appropriate bylaw be adopted entering into agreement with Taranis Construction Group for the Hemlo Drive restructuring project. Moved by Councillor Gingras, second by Councillor Lake. Any questions? Councillor Fox.
I'm not familiar with the name. I know we've had three others in here working. Where do these guys come from?
This is a fairly big company in Thunder Bay. They've got a lot of equipment. This will be the first time we've worked with them, but True Grit Engineering has worked with them on multiple projects for the city of Thunder Bay and in the region.
Okay, good enough, thanks.
Councillor Lake?
The one bulleted point that always catches my attention is ditching restored to original design depth and erosion control where necessary. I remember when we did the ditches along Steedman at Nicolette, restoring them to original design depth meant making them really steep, such that homeowners couldn't mow the ditches anymore. Is that the sort of thing we can expect in there, and why do we do that?
Well, thanks for asking that question, but the original design depth is to the invert of the culvert, the bottom of the culvert. The sidewalk doesn't move, so that was the original steep angle of the ditch when the road was first built. Over time, it's been softened by grass and road sand, and next thing you know, it's up to the top of the culvert and fairly smooth. So initially, when the road was built, it was that steep.
So we're just bringing it back to what it was.
And it'll go back to that, yeah. There are going to be a few culverts which will be replaced, but they'll be going back to the original depth.
Okay.
But the residents will see that the culverts that aren't being replaced, they're just being flushed. They aren't moving in elevation, and they'll find that their ditch is a little bit steeper anyways.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Okay. Hold on, this is a bylaw. This is a bylaw, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Next down the list is a check run. Oh, thank you, Mr. Hishka.
We
Sorry,
have to approve it, don't we?
I thought it was a bylaw.
You'll be approving the bylaw, which approves entering into the contract.
Oh,
Okay.
have a check run moved by Councillor Lake, Councillor Gingras. That the following check run be approved for payment. Accounts payable, $1,028,132. Payroll, $142,270.49. All in favor? Opposed? Carried? Thank you. We now move into bylaws. I have a bylaw, that bylaw number 1921 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with the Northern Communication Services Incorporated regarding the operation of a telephone answering and emergency dispatch service for the Emergency Services Department be read the first and second time this 23rd day of April 2018. Moved by Councillor Gingras. Second by Councillor Lake. All in favor? Opposed? That portion's carried. I have another bylaw, that bylaw number 1923 being a bylaw to authorize the Corporation of the Town of Marathon to enter into an agreement with Taranis Construction Group for the Hemlo Drive resurfacing project. Be read a first and second time this 23rd day of April 2018. Moved by Councillor Fox, seconded by Councillor Lake. I'm trying to get everybody in. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And carried. And the third reading, I have a motion that bylaws numbers 1921 and 1923 be read a third time and finally passed this 23rd day of April 2018. Moved by Councillor Fox, Councillor Gingras. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? And carried. Under the new business, the Corporation of the Town of Marathon has received a motion that council hereby support the private members bill received by Ernie Hardeman, Oxford MPP, pertaining to the rights of landfill development. Am I required to read it all?
You're required to move it or seconder to put it on the floor.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I have a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Fox, second by Councillor Gingras, or sorry, Lake and Gingras. The council hereby support the private members bill received from Ernie Hardman, Oxford MPP, pertaining to the rights to approve landfill development. Okay, here we go.
Would you like me to highlight?
Please highlight or
So this is actually, it's a private member's bill, but really, in Ontario, municipalities don't have the ability to approve landfill sites.
Private landfill sites.
Private landfill sites. It actually falls under the purview of the provincial government. So what MPP Hardeman is requesting is, like other developments that the municipalities approve or not approve under their official plan, municipalities should be included, or pardon me, landfills should be included. So it's very straightforward. It would just be, language similar to a commercial development, industrial development, that municipalities have that right through the process. So my recommendation from administration would be that council supports it.
Councillor.
And is this so if I recall, it was London, Ontario, there was a private landfill that Toronto sent their garbage to, and London had no ability to say, no, we won't accept that waste, right? That's the kind of situation we're trying to avoid?
Yeah, I'm not aware of that situation in particular, okay. But really the way that the process is set up in the province right now is a private landfill could be located on private land within a municipality, and the municipality doesn't have the ability to enter into that process if it's approved by the province of Ontario. So what this bill is requesting is that the municipality is inserted as part of the process, and that due diligence is completed for private landfills.
Councillor Fox.
I understand what you're saying, but I didn't even realize. So you mean the back end of somebody's farm, they can apply to the province to have it as a private landfill, or can they sell to companies to dump their garbage there?
It could be either or. Now, obviously, there's as we've seen with the landfill in Camp 19, it's a very rigorous process to get a landfill, even if it is a private landfill. Yeah. Right? They would apply through that process, and it could be that they sail off that property for a private landfill development. But right now, through that process, it's mandated through the Ministry of the Environment, and when it's private, municipalities don't have the ability through their OP to be part of that process. So what this bill is requesting is that the municipality does have that ability, that as part of the development, there's that due diligence from the local municipality.
Wow. Okay.
I hate to be a bearer of bad tidings on this thing, but one of the mandates behind the Ministry of Environment is to oversee the development of the landfill sites, because it's an issue that is not welcomed in a lot of communities. For having are they asking for intervenor status, or are they actually asking for the right to do it? Because either through zoning or through your official plan, and I know that the official plan, you can't preclude certain businesses because you just designate zoning as commercial or non-commercial. But isn't there levels that you can do it through the official plan and or through intervenor status?
Well, there would be no intervenor status. That's not granted through this process for the province. But theoretically, if we use, one of the examples that has been brought up through this draft legislation is, let's use Marathon as the example, obviously, and somebody chose to locate a landfill site directly adjacent to our town boundary on a piece of private property. Obviously has an effect on the municipality. The municipality has no ability to impart into that process. So that's what this legislation is requesting, is that it's just another level of good due diligence, that it can't be left to the province only to approve these projects, and that those affected most by it, the local communities, have that input into the process.
Okay. Okay, I will read the last part. Here, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Marathon supports Bill 16, respecting municipal authority over landfill site act, introduced by MPP Ernie Hardeman, and calls upon the Government of Ontario and all political parties to formally grant municipalities the authority to approve landfill projects in or adjacent to their communities. And further, that the Town of Marathon sends a copy of this motion to MPP Ernie Hardeman. Any other questions? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I have another information that Council hereby supports the attached resolution received from the Township of Baldwin pertaining to Bill C-71. Moved by Councillor Gingras, seconder. Councillor Lake. Okay. If administration would be so kind.
So really what the Township of Baldwin is requesting is support of Bill C-71, which through my reading and research is adding another level of bureaucracy with respect to lawful firearms owning in Canada. So obviously the long gun registry was defeated. They're now looking at bringing something in that's not as robust as that, but certainly is more due diligence required for firearms owners when they look to purchase firearms, or from my reading of the legislation, would have to go through a process every 5 years to justify the firearms that they do have. So, the Township of Baldwin makes a very good point that the process through the possession and acquisition license, which obviously is mandated by the federal government, is already in place, and those checks and balances exist in the system. Why are we adding another level of bureaucracy to gun ownership when it doesn't move to prevent things like illegal firearms used in crimes and things of that nature?
Any questions?
No, none.
Councillor Lee?
You know, the only thing that kind of gave me pause in the reading is where it says that it made it sound like there was police officer support for Bill C-71. Is that the case? Like, is this a bill that the OPP are in support of, or the chiefs of police of Ontario? I guess my experience of firearms is almost everybody in town has one. We're mostly hunters. People are very safe with them. There's already oversight on them, and it makes sense to me that we don't need more. But what I didn't understand is when it says, we've heard numerous times that police officers need to know what firearms might be in the residence. But I think they already do they not?
So, Your Worship, with the mover and seconder's permission, I think it's valid if we table this, not defeat it, but table it for tonight. I'll have a discussion with our staff sergeant and bring this back at the next council meeting for re-debate by council.
Actually, it would be nice just to invite him. I can't remember the last time the staff sergeant was at council.
Okay.
Nice to.
So with the movers and seconders' permission, I'm going to send this back to administration, who will further research it and ask the input of the OPP.
Please.
Thank you. Next up, council hereby support attached resolution received by Halton Regional pertaining to support on the court application involving the CN truck rail development in the town of Milton. Moved by Councillor Lake, Councillor Gingras. And if administration would be so kind.
So what Milton is requesting support on, and obviously we have CP in Marathon, not CN, but would be very similar, is that it's CN's, again, going back to local municipal approvals, it's CN's position that because this is, railways are federally regulated, that the municipality has no input into the development process whatsoever. And this actually is I am familiar with this, it's gone through a lengthy court battle to date. Because it's a very significant development that would theoretically take up a lot of land within the community. Mm-hmm. And what Milton is saying is that they're not necessarily opposed to the development, but they're opposed to the process that CN has applied going through the process, which has been no requirement to consult with the local community and utilizing dated legislation at the federal level to say we don't need your approval. So their request is that they're asking for support of that process, and that there is a cooperative process in place amongst all levels of government for a development such as this.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Councillor Fox?
We as a municipality, have the rights of putting weight restrictions on roads. Why don't they just put a low rate on it and say, CN, go ahead, but you're not traveling on our roads?
Yeah, that's certainly something they could look at. I think their frustration and, why it's applicable to the province is that theoretically, CN or CP could apply the same concept to any other municipality.
Yep.
Right? So it should be the legislation that's changed, right? Not, again, no downloading onto the local municipality to put the restrictions in place to deal with these things.
Okay, I'm going to well, it's up to when I call the vote. My objection to this is there is federal responsibility and there's provincial responsibility and there's municipal responsibility. Trans-Canada transportation is a federal responsibility. And although municipalities, it is in our backyard or it goes through our towns, it is federally mandated. It's no different than, like, I hate to use it, but the pipeline or air transport. So before we start putting our fingers in and saying we want a piece of this or we want input into this, is there not already levels of consultation or whatever that they must go through the federal development anyways?
There isn't.
There is not.
There is not currently, and that's the frustration Milton's had through this process, and that's exactly what their resolution speaks to. There must be a cooperative approach to all developments that engage federal, provincial, and municipal regulatory matters, and that the existence of federal regulation over a development does not preclude and may require provincial and municipal regulation of the proposed development to avoid regulatory gaps. So right now, that does not exist. Right, so what? Again, going back to they're not saying they do not support the development. What they're saying is they do not support the process to approve the development. And I think they have a valid request. Knowing that obviously we're a rail community, and that could things like this could potentially impact us as well, where we would have no say in what the rail company did.
Other than their access to the 3-mile limit around the rail, which was traditionally given them development rights for, which they've given up numerous throughout our community. My big concern is, although I like to think that municipalities should have a say in a lot of these things, this is past our mandate, and it is a federally mandated process. Well, I mean, we would hope that the federal government would be aware, and your MP would be aware, that any process or development in your community should come back to the community at least as a consultation process, but as opposed to regulating as legislation. Again, there's certain things people want in their backyard and people don't want in their backyard, and that's why there are levels of checks and balances for these things. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I hear what you're saying, Your Worship, but the fact of the matter is, since the 1960s, the province and the federal government have downloaded responsibilities on the municipalities without giving us the legislative tools to take care of them. And I agree, had the federal government and the provincial government kept up their end of the funding bargain, then they could have all the purview they want. But municipalities have taken a greater and greater role where the feds and the province used to be. And I think a seat at the table, an equitable seat at the table is where municipalities need to get to.
I understand the partnership issue and I understand the cooperation issue, so yes, you have changed my mind. Okay.
That's one.
no, there's only...
In 12 years, that's one.
Hearing no other questions, all in favor? Carried. I also have here, I also have here that the council hereby authorized the attendance of Councillor Gingras to the annual rally of the Francophones in northwestern Ontario. Moved by, thank you, Councillor Fox. Thank you, Councillor Lake. Would you like to highlight it, or would the administration like to highlight it? Okay.
Pardon me?
I said I'm asking who would like to highlight.
Yeah, I can highlight it. So it's the AGM for the Francophone Association in the northwestern Ontario, and I had missed it last year because of timing, and we discussed how it's important to have somebody represent our community there. So I haven't been to one of these, so I can't speak to exactly what goes on, but I do have the agenda in front of me. It's one full day of presentations and probably some good networking opportunities there as well. So
thank you for that information. Any other questions?
No.
All in favor? Oh, sorry, I better read it. That council hereby authorize the attendance of Councillor Gingras to the annual rally of the Francophones in Northwestern Ontario and the 41st annual general meeting scheduled for June 2nd, 2018 in Thunder Bay, and further that all expenses be paid according to policy. All in favor?
Yes.
Carried. Thank you. There is no closed meeting tonight. Okay, I have a motion that we adjourn at the...
Sorry, Your
Oh,
Worship.
sorry.
Just, there is one announcement on your desk as it relates to municipal
Oh,
matters.
yes, sorry. Maybe there was Freudian slip here.
Thank you.
I have an announcement. There will be no further municipal matter sessions with the municipal actions nomination period set to open May 1st. So the half hour before regular scheduled meetings of council is not being held. But should any member of the public wish to address council, they can request a delegation to the clerk. It is a very painless process. You just contact the clerk and say what you would like to discuss with council. You're allowed 10 minutes to make your presentation to councilor at any council meeting. Okay, so your access to council has not been limited. It's just been now folded into the formal portion of the council meeting. Okay. There was additional information from Council Emergency Services Department monthly report, copies to all member. And now, because we have 15 minutes left, I have a motion that we hereby adjourn at the hour of 7:46. Moved by Councillor Fox and Councillor Gingras. All in favor?
Go Leafs go.
Go Leafs go.
Go Leafs go.
Thank you very much. Have a good and safe week.